Welcome to this 15 minutes introduction to Agile transformation at Arla Foods. My name is Grønnebæk and I'm heading a small department working with Agile transformation. So a few facts about Arla at first. Arla is owned by 12,000 farmers. We have a yearly intake of milk of 14 billion kilos. We're the fourth largest dairy company in the world. I've got around 19,000 of colleagues. We've got three brands. Apart from Arla, we've got Grønnebæk and Castello. And the yearly revenue is 9.6 billion euro. So the Agile context is like this. While there is around 19,000 employees in Arla, the number of people we're trying to transform is 700. So there's 200 working in Arla IT, employed by Arla. There's around 400 vendors working for us. And then we have around 100 business people also from Arla. So it's around 700 people all in all that we're trying to make work in this different way. So first of all, you might think, why is Arla going Agile? Well, looking out at different research studies, we can see that there's a 3 times more likability for success if you run Agile. Cost of running development activities in an Agile way is 61% below a traditional way of running development. The number of hours will decrease dramatically. You will deliver faster and you will deliver by a smaller group of people. So all in all, the efficiency, the productivity is way more interesting when working like this. So what we want to do is want to deliver long-lived teams rather than a project that you form and you then have for a certain period of time, and then these people don't work together anymore. We want long-lived teams working with the same type of value chain over a long duration of time. We want to collaborate more and better with the vendors we have and build a more trusting relationship with our partners. We want to involve business people throughout the entire process and to build and deliver the best solutions we can think of. So we want business people to be involved from day one. We want business people to tell us what is great for us, what kind of needs do we have. We want the team to be empowered. We want the decisions to be pushed down to where the knowledge is. And we also see this as a way of driving the digital future for Arla. So so this is why we decided to do this. We started around 1.5 years ago, and I believe we are around halfway there. So at first, we looked at different models and thought, well, how can we do this? Do we want to make a homegrown model, or do we want to look at the models that are out there, like Nexus or this, or Scaled Agile or Safe? There's different models for running Agile in a scaled way. So we settled for Safe, Scaled Agile framework, and I think we did this because a lot of companies are using this. It's becoming a de facto standard. So it's easy to convince vendors that this is the way to go, and say to vendors, well, you need to train your people before starting working with this. So that's some of the thoughts behind selecting this model. What we did in the very beginning was that we assigned a team of Arla people of 5 people. So me and 4 other people were starting this August 16. We involved 2 external people that were experts on this, and they were with us for 9 months. And now we are around 6-7 people again in this group called Agile Transformation, and we are running the continuous transformation of our department. When doing this transformation, we started working with Safe, with this Scaled Agile framework. We started working with this right away. So the way we have implemented this new way of working and thinking is by using the model itself. So we're using Safe to implement Safe. which is really a great way of achieving some results here. It also proves that while this is made for IT, it works for well, organizational change as well. It will also work for, and is being used for other areas as well. So like product development, it would be great for as well. So in the very beginning, we tried to make a great information campaign. We created a fuss, you might say. We had our own logo and did a bunch of crazy stuff to get some attention and to make people look in our direction. And we had top management support. So these two things together actually created a lot of pull, more than we thought at first it would. So a lot of people in the organization were actually very fast starting to say, hey, can we work Agile? We want to be part of this journey. Can we be part of it? How can we get trained? How can we start working Agile, etc. Yeah, so everybody wanted to get on board, and that was really great, of course. But it also meant that well, there was quite a big pressure on the group to deliver training courses, information sessions, etc. But all in all, it worked great. So what it contains of is, at the bottom layer, we're using Scrum, which is very normal and has been used since around the year 2000 at team level. But the new thing here for me and for other people that has been working with Agile for many years is that now we can scale. So while doing this traditional way of working with 2-week sprints, daily Scrum, etc. On top of that, we have this structure that we call program increments. So when developing something that is more than one team can develop on its own, you need this different structure. And so you might have a number of teams. You might have 5 or 7 or 10 or whatever. We have programs of between 30 and 90 people. So all of these, they are running in these 10-week program increments, and they're chopped up in 2-week sprints. So every other week, every team delivers something. They have demos, stakeholders drop by and see, well, what have they delivered. And every 10th week, they deliver a big chunk of work, something that is really value, creates a great value to the receivers. And at the very beginning of a PI, well, to say it in a different way, to start a program and to start a program increment, you gather all the teams in a big room for 2 days. So we have sessions every 10th week with like 80, 90 people, sometimes even more, because we have a lot of stakeholders as well. So a big room with teams of like 7 to 9 people. And as input for this 2-day big planning session, you have a roadmap, a very high level description of what do we want to happen over the course of the next 20, 30 weeks. You have a vision for this program, and you have your top 10 features. A feature is something that can be delivered within 10 weeks. And while doing the 2-day planning, every team breaks down features into stories and creates a tentative plan for the next 10 weeks. What is really the output is that every team comes out with a commitment and say, well, the objectives for the next 10 weeks is this. This is what we can deliver. Business guys, we can deliver this in 10 weeks. This value we're going to show you in 10 weeks from now. This is a very strong tool, and it creates a lot of transparency and a lot of trust between the business people and the development teams. So every team comes out with these objectives, and every team contributes to a program board. So a big plan showing when will these features be delivered, these big chunks of work over the course of these 10 weeks. So that's the planning horizon, really, that you know to some extent what's going to happen over the course of the next 10 weeks. And you know at a detailed level what will happen over the course of the next 2 weeks. So things might change as you go along, but the 2 weeks planning horizon, you're going to stick with that. So at first we thought, well, how the hell are we going to start this? We are a group of people. We have 80-something projects, and we want to transform everybody to working Agile. And we managed to do this in less than a year. So going from 80-something projects to now these 11 Agile release trains, as they're called, we managed to do this in around a year. So what I would recommend is that you pick a big program that you have today, and you train all the team members. You prepare the first PI planning, the first 2-day planning event, and then you simply run your first increment planning, and you run your first program increment. And it might sound scary, but you're all the time you're forced to deliver some results. You're forced to demonstrate every other week, and stakeholders will come by and see, well, are they actually delivering? Do they keep their promises, etc. So it's a very strong tool, and development teams running like this is highly successful, and you're not going to perform worse than you do today. I think you can be pretty sure about that. So in order to make all these teams work and to make them understand how this is, you need to train people, but it doesn't make you think in a different way. It makes you understand a bit of this context. It makes you act in a slightly different way. But if you were a project manager yesterday and you have a title today that is called Scrum Master, it doesn't transform you as a human being. You need to think in a different way. And that will take some special treatment. It will mean that you need a coach on every team to help you transform, to help you take on these new tools, these new ways of working, because otherwise you're not going to get there. Otherwise you're not going to reach these great results that I showed earlier. You might going to get good results anyway, but you're not going to get the full potential. So while we have around 7 people in our team, in our what some call a center of excellence, we have 6 internal coaches as well. So we have 11 of these Agile release trains. So teams of teams working together, 30 to 80, 90 people, and every team has a coach that helps them understand how we working, that helps the business people involved, how are we actually steering this program in the right direction, etc. So this is a very important part, and this is our focus now, and probably will be for more than a year going forward. So if you think about what has been our biggest obstacles, or what has been the most difficult parts when doing this, it's been, well, these 3 things is top of my list. So making teams realize that you actually have to spend most of your time with a team. Before, we had many resources that were spread between different projects, so you could easily participate in 5 or more projects. Not a very productive and smart way of working. So what we want now is, what we say to everybody now, that you are in a team if you're 60% or more allocated. If not, then you're not part of a team. Well, what am I then? Well, that we have to find out. Then maybe you're sort of a subcontractor or whatever. But if you want to be in a team and work in an efficient way, you have to be 60% or more allocated. So 60%, because then you have one main task. Getting to this point has been fairly difficult. Another thing that is difficult is that, so while we are around 700 people working like this now, or trying to work like this now, we're all the time pushing the boundaries and meeting people that are not understanding the way we work. So when we want to finance our development work in a different way, we talk to finance people that are thinking in a traditional way, and we try to convince them, well, what is this now? How are you financing this Agile release train? How is this working? And it takes a lot of debate and a lot of persuasion. And this way has been an enormous effort for us, and it will continue to be. Also, business people, to make them understand that you're part of the team now. For us to deliver something really valuable to you, you need to be in the team all the time. You need to tell us what is value to you. You need to talk to your stakeholders, to your colleagues in the business, and talk to them all the time about what is value to you. Does this look right? Should we change something? And well, it's hard in the beginning because they don't understand why do we have to spend this much time. But as soon as they've been on board for a month or two, they like this a lot, and they, I mean, ask directly. They don't want to go back to the old waterfall way of working. They like this better. They think that this is way more transparent. Now we understand what we are getting. We can actually decide if we want to go this way or that way. So while it's difficult to persuade people to work like this, it's within a few months they actually realize that this is smart and this is what we really want. So the third bullet point on this one is to change the way you think. Because while everybody can go and take a training course in SAFe or any other scaled Agile tool, and you get a certification and you look good on paper, thinking Agile is something different. Because if you've been a program manager, a project manager for a decade or so, you're not going to change overnight. So how do I think in a different way? That is a big thing, and that is something that takes a lot of effort, and it's difficult and it's not very tangible. So how do we create exercises, and how do we focus on making people think in a new way? That's actually fairly tricky, and not something that, well, you can read about in a book, but it's still fairly complex. So that is where we are now, and that is the challenging part now. So adding up, I think we've come a pretty good way in these 15 months that we've been working on this. So as I sort of already said, we are acting Agile, but everybody also needs to think Agile before we can release the full potential of working like this. And I do think many organizations, they sort of stop at this point because, well, we look good and everybody has been trained, and we're working Agile, everybody. But if you look closer, no, you're not. So this is where it gets really tricky, I would say. Also, because if you look at the results after around a year down the line, or a bit more than a year. So if we compare the delivery time before and after, we can see that now already, I mean, we started the first Agile release train in January, and it's now December, so less than a year ago. And for the last few months, we have been able to measure delivery time of around 50% faster than before. So before, the average was a bit more than 10 months. Now it's a bit more than 5 months. So it's actually a good result, but there's even more to gain from this. We can also see that the distance from me getting an idea to actually getting a go or no-go is also shorter. And we can see that people are happy to work like this. It's not that we made a big survey, but when talking to people, when interviewing people who are taking on different roles, they actually like this a lot, and everybody prefers this over the old way of working. So like this, it's also a good result. Okay, so thank you for listening.